phenomenon that went viral a couple of years ago. Ugly, nasty, crummy bitch. She didn't play it that way, but.
Well, folks, once again, in summertime, I always draw not the greatest, but this has been better than some summers. This is like just on the borderlines of the stand-up working, so it probably won't. So I will be very frustrated and upset, but I do appreciate you coming nonetheless. And please don't force it, but like if it hits you and you think it's funny, don't be scared to laugh because I need that to fucking like space and time shit. So if it comes to you naturally, let it come, you know, and if it doesn't, that's fine too. And yeah, and it was sketchy weather, and it was changing every day and every minute and every hour too.
Still
but
changing.
I only get to work. Like the place wasn't ready and stuff, so had to do the best I could. And yeah, if anybody out there is watching on YouTube and nothing lands and you think I'm a hack, well, I might well be a hack. But I've only got 5 people, so maybe Eddie Murphy couldn't do this. I don't know. Let's see. And we're live, and let's get going. You know, folks, for a comedian, I'm a pretty spiritual guy, and that's a rare thing. That's a rare thing because most comedians are too miserable to believe anything good could happen. You know, too fucking miserable. The most spiritual outcome for a comedian is for the Crooked Club manager to pay you the $30 he promised to pay you. Yeah, it rarely happens, right? But I think in today's time, a lot more sensible people would be spiritual, but they get turned off by these fucking positive visualization, law of attraction, manifestation motherfuckers. Now, before I eviscerate them completely, I will say, if you want to use these skills to cultivate a relationship or a friendship or a new job, that's okay. But what I can't stand is these motherfuckers who just, they go on, they go, oh, I'm so spiritual, I will manifest $20 million. That's not spiritual, that's selfish. $20 million. And of course, you know what they counter with, right? Oh, the universe is so abundant. Everybody could manifest $20 million if they want to. And if they don't get it, it's because they didn't believe or they didn't manifest hard enough. The universe is so abundant. Listen, the universe is abundant. It's limitless. There might be countless other limitless universes in all reality, maybe. But the money grows on paper that grows on trees that are burning down the world over. There are not enough resources for everybody to manifest $20 million. I read one of these dummies, and she said, I couldn't believe it. She said, the only reason them poor people in Africa are poor is because we are always picturing them in our minds as poor. Well, no, I think the people in Africa are poor because they are constantly in war zones. You know, there might not be enough food and water cleanly able to grow there. And, you know, we live in a crooked system where all the money and power funnels up to the hands of a very greedy, ever-decreasing few. The people in Africa are not poor because we're sitting there going, oh, fiddle-dee-dee, isn't it a shame those people in Africa are poor? No. No. And you know, the title of this woman's book was, Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. I think the title of her book should have been, Excuse me, what in the fuck are you smoking? So if you're as tired, and maybe not as bad as I am with these manifestation motherfuckers, let's all do a little collective exercise, close our eyes, take a big deep breath, and let's manifest these morons all the way over to fucking Neptune. And you know something, folks? I'll be the first to eat my words, because if it works, those manifestation motherfuckers were right. Here's one I hope you like. I am getting quiet laughter if the YouTube can't pick that up. I'm getting enough to encourage me along, even if it sounds like I'm dying up here. I'll get little nibbles. This one, I wish I could make this up, but this is This was actually on the BBC News website. Couldn't believe it. This is the headline. Prolific U.S. sperm donor fails to have parentage recognized in UK court. What's his claim to parentage? Geez, Your Honor, I never met my children. I don't even know their names. Come to think of it, I never met the mothers. I don't even know their names. But goddamn, I used to play minor league baseball, so I am way more qualified to teach these kids to play catch than any of the losers my 347 baby mamas could have met on Tinder. Yeah, why does he want parentage at this point, right? Oh, geez, well, I'm getting older, I could really use a new hip. I donated sperm 347 times. One of these kids gotta have some money. Fuck it. If a bunch of them have money, I get a whole new life. New car, new boat, new house. Fuck it, I could even get a whole new face. Which will come very much in handy because if any of these kids ever want their money back, they'll never be able to recognize me, huh? Guy like that should never get parentage rights. This is the worst dad of all time. I tell you, fuck me. Also, on the vein of weird and strange and in the news, many of you know, probably, that U.S. and Iran achieved a temporary ceasefire, right? It's over with now, but they did get it. And what you might not know, though, is that Iran hired a team of psychologists to negotiate with Trump. The psychologists diagnosed Trump as extremely mentally ill. They said the only way you're going to get anywhere with this fucker is if you negotiate with him as if you were completely fucking insane. And they did. And at least temporarily, it fucking worked. It worked. Could you imagine? I could just picture the conversation in the Iranian boardroom. You guys picture this? I can hear it in my head right now. Oh, we torture, we imprison, we execute people we don't like. We don't allow women to dress or live freely as they choose. But this a fucking guy? He's even worse than us. Oh my God. Praise Allah for modern psychology. Everybody should go to therapy. We should go to therapy. We be better people. Kumbaya. Kumbaya. I can't sing in Iranian apparently. I'm off key. Kumbaya. Yeah, I gotta take a drink here. Just give me a sec, folks. I'll be right back. Still kind of on the international scene, Many of you probably know soccer, football is known everywhere outside of North America. Most popular sport in the world, right? Okay, we just had a World Cup, cool. But then I saw this clip on YouTube. It was all World Cup goals, in the final games, 1930 to 2022. 93 years, right? All goals, 15 minutes long. I did the math on this. That means there was only 15 minutes of scoring in over 11,000 minutes. You want to talk about boring? Man, people say watching golf is like watching paint dry. And I'm inclined to agree with them. I am. I don't watch golf. So I had to do the research on this. I looked up golf. Your average PGA game, 156 players, 18 holes in a game. Every player got to get it in the hole to move on, right? So, in golf, the ball goes in the hole, your average game, 2,808 times. In soccer, the ball goes in the hole 15 minutes in 93 years. Soccer got to do something. I don't know. Maybe just start playing with golf balls. Maybe you think like a multi-ball, like pinball.
I agree.
Here's an idea: kick it in the fucking stands. Knock your guys to pay off 3 points. Get it some guy's bucket of chicken 6 points. Hey, Ma, look, I got a game ball. And now I can go get a new bucket of chicken because I got ball in my food. Hey, Mr. Soccer Man, kick it over here again, because I'm not leaving till the stadium is out of chicken. Fuck you, Rain. All I'm saying is the soccer has got to up their game. If I'm considering watching golf instead, good Lord. Guess that wasn't fun. Oh, look, I'll field this. So we're on stage here. My manager's got a lamp business going on, and right in the middle of the show, some guy has come to get their lamp fixed. So this is going to be really entertaining for you folks online here. We're maybe fixing a lamp. I've paused the show. That was the end of the bit, though. So we will continue on in a second here. It's live entertainment, people. I just got rained on, and I just got a broken lamp interrupt the program. So
Your first heckler.
yeah, $300 to fix that lamp, right, buddy? 3,000.
Ask him if he's got
points
$50
does that count
to
in the
sit
soccer
down.
Yeah,
game?
the soccer game. That's they decided to get to the lamp repair because that's more exciting than watching soccer.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, that was the end of the bit. So now we're on to this next bit here, and this is a philosophy that some men have, and I think you women should be aware of it. Now, I'm sure some women are aware of it, and I want to emphasize, right, that this is only some men that hold this philosophy. I don't have it, and not because I'm any kind of saint. It's just that I'm not into it. It doesn't appeal to me. It's kind of gross. And this is, I'm building this up as a big. This is what it is. So some guys think that in order to get good at sex, you should practice on women you're not really into, so that if a woman you are really into comes along, you will be a master lover. See, the thing is, right? I don't think that really works. Like, no woman she doesn't sit there and think, well, this guy who never comes during sex and doesn't really seem to want to have me around, he's really into me, he's going to put a ring on this next Tuesday. No, he's not. He's not into you. She's not. And moreover, it's not nice. You're hurting women's feelings doing that shit. You know, you want to practice? Fucking get a blow-up doll. In my limited experience, I think they have most of the same parts anyway. I don't know. You know? Fuck. And you'll never hurt a blow-up doll's feelings. If you're worried about hurting a blow-up doll's feelings, well, it's time to change your medication then, isn't it? Fuck. Yeah. But here's where we come to a very important difference between genders now, don't we? Because imagine some beautiful woman wants to use a guy to get good at sex. Imagine that. Like, I think most all guys would go for that. All single guys. Hey, most married men would go for that too. Yeah, can you imagine the rationale to the wife, you know? Guy says to his wife, well, see, no, honey, you don't understand. See, she is using me to get good at sex. See, honey, what can I do? I gotta do it. I'm empowering women. Right? Yeah. And so here's the thing, right? I don't think any guy is gonna get super upset about being used for sex. Like, what's he gonna say? Oh man, she's just using me for sex. She's just using me for sex. Well, come to think of it, we don't have anything in common. We don't like any of the same movies or music. Our politics are completely opposed. Sex is the only thing we have in common. Goddamn thing, she doesn't stick around, or we get in some terrible arguments. Just gonna have a quick look. I think oh yeah, of course I opened the binder the wrong way.
You bring a blow-up doll or something?
Yeah, there is one in here. It's not inflated yet though, so I'm having a hard time with it. Yep, no, that's right. Oh yeah. So, I don't know about you guys, but I am really annoyed. Have you guys noticed this trend? You wish somebody happy birthday and they tag you, so like it shows up on your profile. Does that piss you guys off?
Yeah.
I love it.
You love it? Of course you do, Ave.
I don't.
Yeah, Ave tagged me 87 times in the same post wishing him happy birthday. Right? No, but see, here's what I don't like about it. So let's say you make like some important post, right? And some chuckle fuck that you barely know, nobody like anyway, which you had, and people miss your post because it shows up in your feed instead, right? And think about it for me. I'm an independent artist who hasn't gotten an arts grant in 8 years. Most of my posts are asking people for money. Motherfucker, take fucking money out of my pocket, tagging. I'll never wish anybody happy birthday again. Never will. Fuck. And like, come to think of it, right? It's I'm used to making little or no money for my artistic efforts, but these 8 years to get grants, like now I'm gonna have to go in debt to pay for shit that I am too disabled to do. You see the headline? I can picture this right now, this headline. A health X disabled artist becomes more disabled because he goes in debt to criminals to pay for his art. But you know what, folks? There's always a silver lining. There always is, right? Let's say I did go in debt to the mafia and they come to collect them. Imagine what they might say. Hey, geez, Fingers, that guy, without standing up, he can't hold on to anything. I think somebody already got to it. We better leave him alone. And imagine, like, with cerebral palsy, as I age over the course of my life, I'm going to be progressively more disabled. So each time they come to collect on me, they'll always leave me. I could make millions. Be the only guy in history who ever made money off of loan sharks. Yeah. I just want to close this bit by telling you there is no such thing as the mafia, okay? And if you find an honest, hard-working businessman and he makes a killing, tons of money, doesn't pay 1 red cent in taxes, well, he's probably an elected official. I almost feel like I should have closed with this one. I think this one might be strong. This is the close of the stand-up. This is a yarn here. Let me take a little liquor to encourage me along here with this. Getting deep into my feelings and problems. And of course, the answer is to always drink them away. So, I'm closing in on 43, right? And I ain't having no luck on those goofy date naps. None at all, you know? But I kind of think it's better for comedy if things don't work out. Like, if I'm up here saying, oh man, I met my soulmate on Tinder. She really completes me. Even our arguments bring us closer together. I'm not going to get many laughs. I'm going to make you sick. Right? But if I tell you about the rude, stupid, and hilarious things they say to me, you might laugh. You might laugh. And look, before I get into my matches, I got to tell you about this one lady who always comes up on my Tinder. And I always swipe left on her. She says this, and I've seen it enough times. I can tell she's serious. She says, fellas, you have to wash your bum. Good point. Good point, right? But here's the thing, though. If you think you have to put that on a dating profile, that means you've been with more than one guy who hasn't washed his bum. I know it's a desperate. That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. Wash your bum. Everybody, wash your bum while he laughs, okay?
That was awesome.
Yeah, I know it's a desperate, lonely, and cold world out there. But how desperate, lonely can you be that you have been with somebody who hasn't washed their bum multiple times? Like, I think to myself, like, I could never go out with this woman. I wouldn't be able to do more than hold her hand. I don't want to catch a terrible disease. Now I'm going to tell you about my matches. So, I had this one on Tinder, right? And she didn't ask me any questions at all. The only thing she said that was even remotely related to me, she said, I like guys who look like me. So I said, well, it's a good thing our beards are relatively the same thickness. No, I didn't say that. I just pulled that for I didn't say that to some rando at this meeting. So, but then she ghosts me for like 2 weeks, right? Then starts like spamming me like 10 messages in a row, all to tell me that it didn't work out with some other guy. So like, how about it? And I'm thinking, oh, geez, yeah. This one's the one. She's gonna make me a tippity top priority, isn't she? Yeah, she's gonna make me real important. So, no, you weirdo. I don't want to see your creepy antique corsets. I'm too busy telling people about the hilariously stupid way you've communicated with me. I thought that was pretty good too. I got one more match to eviscerate. So, this was one on Hinge, and this lady, she tells me she's a big-time movie fan. She loves movies, right? So I said, cool, I kind of fell off movies the last years. I like the shows a little better, What are some really good? What are your favorite movies the last few years? She said, well, it's kind of hard to think of off the top of my head, but you can read my movie blog. So, wait a minute now. I'm talking to a lady who said that she really loves movies, and she can't tell me what her favorite movies are? Like, I don't know. Does she have memory problems already in her 30s? What's going on here? Let's say she's stressed, she's busy, but maybe she does have memory problems. Can't she read her own movie blog? Here you're telling the guy that you're just starting to talk to, one would presume trying to make a good impression on, hey, if you want to know what I think, go read my movie blog. Well, you know what? This lady, she never asked me one single solitary question about myself either. If she had, she might have found out I made a movie. Now, it ain't perfect by any means, but no, you fucking self-centered lazy bones. I don't care what you think about Barbie the motion picture. I will never read your movie blog. That's the end of the stand-up, folks. Oh, no, hang on. I guess I'm going to be alone forever. Well, at this point, I'll take the laughs over the love, I guess. Better for my art.
There you go, man.
Woo! I got a long-ass series of poems for you. Unfortunately, I did too much work on this shit, but I had to do it. Yeah, it's time for another beer. I'm just doing some preamble to fucking talk about them here, so that's fine. I decided to talk first about capitalism, kind of what it was, what it is, where we're going, and my reactions to it. So I had to go in pretty deep, as I did for all of these, and it's a critique of what's behind it, which in my opinion is greed. So the piece is called The All-Greedy Dollar. Capitalism is an economic system where the means of production are privately owned and used in an attempt to turn a profit. The means of production are the assets and resources necessary to produce goods and services. They include land, labor, factories, machinery, capital, and infrastructure like transportation and energy systems. Modern capitalism emerged from agrarianism in England between the 16th and 18th centuries. Agrarianism was an economic system based on rural development, family farming, widespread property ownership, and political decentralization. Agrarianism was probably a great deal better for the environment, if not for the people. Nevertheless, with the Industrial Revolution in the 18th century, capitalism became the dominant mode of production, characterized by factory work and complex division of labor. Globalization, the process of increasing interdependence between economies, societies, and cultures worldwide, capitalism became a global phenomenon during the 19th and 20th centuries and obtained total dominance after the Cold War. It was largely unregulated during the 19th century, but began to be regulated under Keynesianism after World War II from the hardships of the Great Depression and the war. Sure, wealth and power still mostly funneled to the top, but the reasoning was that a guiding hand was necessary to ease the hardships of everyday people. But regulations relaxed again during the 80s under Reagan and Thatcher, supposedly in response to the oil crisis, inflation, and unemployment at the time, creating neoliberalism that persists to today. what good are jobs and oil and low interest rates if people can't afford food or a place to live? It's important to remember that neoliberal capitalism is more humane than the totalitarian communism of Russia and China, the even more brutal communism of North Korea, or the hardline Islamism of Iran and Afghanistan, or the iron fist that many Africans must bear under the rule of their warlords. There are a great many places in our big world where people have far less rights, a poorer standard of living, and drastically less ability to dissent than they do under neoliberal capitalism. I'm not much of a Family Guy fan, but it was incredibly popular, and I was tremendously encouraged when it was brought back after a group of Puritans got it banned. The people and the dollar enabled its return. Supply and demand often does allow a great deal more choice than the repressive will of cruel dictators. There is greater equality and chance for upward mobility if someone is able to sell a great idea than if their fate is determined by the family they were born into. But just because it's better than the worst there's been, doesn't mean that capitalism is really all that good. I'm sometimes encouraged by the Latin American left. Castro fought for the poor and sent his doctors to disaster areas across the world. But if you were a Cuban who had the courage to dissent, he might put you in jail for 80 years. The late Hugo Chavez hosted a news program where all his Venezuelan ministers had to publicly apologize to him if their department wasn't performing well. Chavez, of course, was accountable to no one. Seems to me that some of the Nordic countries have the best and most humane policies and laws in our contemporary world. It astounds me that the descendants of Vikings are the most cosmopolitan people we know. Capitalism's worst aspect is what lies at its core. And let me tell you, that core is rotten because it is filled with nothing but dirty, filthy greed. The impulse that makes us lust after stuff over love and friendship or ideas that don't lead directly to riches. How can you possibly get along with your neighbor if you're envious of what he has? You want more than him. That neoliberal anthem was preached to us in that awful movie Wall Street. Michael Douglas's character preached the gospel that greed is good. Greed is very bad. It is hollow and empty and leaves us always wanting more. The Beat Generation offered an alternative to this vapid materialism, to roam and wonder and philosophize. Oh man, the fucking jazz was incredible. But I don't think the answer was to drink yourself to cirrhosis at 47 either. Greed is the impulse that prevents the rich from sharing their wealth, keeps the poor wishing they were rich too. Stuff and substances keeps the poor enslaved. We can never get ahead if everything goes to cigarettes or booze or stuff much worse than that, or if we're always buying the latest gadget we can't afford. I like nice clothes and furniture and booze, but I can usually get the former at a bargain, and the latter means I just imbibe a lot less. Unless I want to pull an ODB and rob a liquor store. It's not in there, I just put that in. My ODB baby all the time. My family has been especially supportive, but if I hadn't inherited my grandmother's pinch of the penny, I would have succumbed to my poverty years ago. Greed can't go on unchecked and allow things to remain the same. It eventually turns to hatred. And the worst of it comes from the top. The oligarchs consolidate more wealth and power to such an egregious extent that people can't afford food and housing, even if they are employed and have no vices at all. The oligarchs seem to think we are not even entitled to subsistence, as the prices of food and housing continue to skyrocket. I pray I can hold on to mine. Devils whisper in the ears of the working man, tell him that the immigrant and eventually all other marginalized people are the cause of his plight. And now, we stand on the precipice of some people thinking Hitler had a lot of good ideas. I guess 80 years is long enough to forget that all his ideas were poison. Neoliberalism is coming to a close. The dollar stands for nothing and is loyal to no one. The closed-door dealings of the lobbyists have been busted wide open, and now we stand at a fork in the road. Things can get worse. We can all starve and be homeless or bombed, or we can say enough. Enough of this greed, enough of this hatred. Every human has a right to live with dignity, to eat and be housed, with time to think, and God forbid, a bit of fun. No one is the enemy like people think. It's not the immigrant, it's not the disabled. You want to know something really wild? It's not even the super rich. It's just the current relationship that's so troubling. It's the most toxic relationship of our time. But it can be healed. It can go to couples therapy. And the therapist, if she's got any professional acumen, must declare housing and food are bipartisan human rights. And those who have such lopsided abundance must share their wealth. No one needs 4 homes until everyone has a place to rest their weary bones. The rich can still be the fat cats, the top dogs by a long shot, but they just can't be as fat. Everyone has the same right to breathe, so long as they do not restrict that right in others. I don't want absolute economic equality. That would kill the spirit of innovation. But I do want worldwide human subsistence. There can still be a gap, but no one should suffer to allow others to prosper. I don't think material desire is altogether bad. I'm not saying we should all live like monks, but we must strive to keep that desire in check. And then, maybe one day, we can all be free from the chains to this hideous monster with an unquenchable appetite.
Amen.
I'm becoming a preacher man, out in the West Texas town of El Paso. I fell in love with the Mexican girl. I can sing better when I'm not trying to indicate Iranians, I guess, a little bit. We got 2 more for you. The last one, especially, is ridiculously long. This one is about. I know the bugs are eating me alive. They seem to be leaving me alone. I think they're scared of me.
Because you're pickled.
Yeah, I just got a little Zambuki. I'm not even really drinking that much, but I just started for the show. So this next piece, okay, it's called Failure of the Will, and it's inspired by the Nazi propagandist film Triumph of the Will. So this is a history of fascism, a little bit of look at that film, and ultimately a critique of fascism. This is what I had to do for all of these. Fucking make them make sense, and then fucking levy my critique. So it was difficult. So without further ado, because there's plenty to get through it, Failure of the Will. Fascism was born from the terror of World War I. Total war and mass mobilization erased the distinction between citizen and soldier. Every citizen must be prepared to fight. Power funnels all the way to the top and lies under the boot of one supreme military ruler. The social order is often decided by race and nation. Individual interests are subordinate to the perceived interests of the nation. The result is extreme regimentation of society and the economy. That economy is usually capitalist, but the state intervenes tremendously, with the goal of complete national economic self-sufficiency. Any opposition is brutally suppressed. Millions of people are mobilized to fight on the front lines, with the state having the means to support them and unprecedented authority to intervene in their lives. A little bit of fascism's founder here. Most credit Benito Mussolini as the father of fascism. He founded the Fascists of Italy in 1914. He was a journalist and intellectual who would form several other groups before eventually becoming prime minister after the March on Rome in 1922. The King of Italy convinced the sitting prime minister to resign, allowing Mussolini to achieve his dictatorship without bloodshed, thanks to the help of the secret police and by outlawing labor strikes. He committed genocide during his pacification of Libya, which ran from 1922 to 33. Believe it or not, Mussolini formed a short-term alliance with Britain and France over tensions in Austria. But his invasion of Ethiopia brought condemnation from the League of Nations and pushed him toward alliance with Hitler, which should surprise no one, since they were so ideologically similar. He supported Francisco Franco's camp during the Spanish Civil War of the 30s. He had initially wanted to remain neutral, but went into close partnership with the Nazis in 1940 because he believed German victory was imminent. Mussolini was defeated in most of Italy's military expeditions during the Second World War. The Grand Council of Fascism restored power to King Victor Emmanuel III in 1943. Mussolini was taken into custody. He was rescued by the Nazis during the Grand Sasso raid in September and made figurehead ruler of Nazi-controlled northern Italy. With Allied victory approaching in 1945, Mussolini and his mistress attempted to flee to Switzerland, but were captured by communist partisans and executed on April 28th. I shall not go into detail about the workings of other fascist leaders, but thought it would be helpful to recount the troubled history of the movement's founder. Even though fascism was largely disgraced after World War II, it might surprise you to learn that Spain was ruled by fascist Francisco Franco until 1973, when he stepped down during illness. No fascist leader has been democratically removed from power to date. In my research, I was surprised to learn that there are contemporary eco-fascists who are rightly concerned about industrial pollution, but wrongly place the blame on the developing South and advocate ethnic cleansing of the poor people who have contributed almost nothing to global pollution except to suffer its brutal results. The title of this piece is inspired by the most famous Nazi propaganda film, Triumph of the Will. The piece itself was meant to be an inoculation. The film was directed, edited, produced, and co-written by Leni Riefenstahl and was released in March 1935. The film begins as a prologue covering the time elapsed since the end of World War I and Hitler's appointment as Chancellor. Present day is September 5th, 1934. The prologue ends with Hitler's visit to Nuremberg that day. The viewer is then treated to 4 days in the life of Hitler and Nazi Party happenings. There are marches and speeches. Notably, Hitler addresses the youth and tells them how they must harden themselves and prepare for military sacrifice, declaring there is no longer any distinction between the party and the state. During the final day, Hitler is flanked by a gigantic parade and lays a wreath to memorialize the losses of World War I. Then, there is a speech where Hitler discusses the Night of the Long Knives, where he executed members of his own stormtroopers to appease the German military and the cronies he liked better. He then delivers his closing speech declaring only the best National Socialists are party comrades. The film closes with a shot of a giant swastika, then fades into a line of silhouetted marching men, while the lyrics, "Comrades shot by the Red Front and the reactionaries march together in our columns," are sung. It earned the equivalent of €4 million based on the value of the euro in 2021. It won the gold medal at the Venice Film Festival in 1935 and the Grand Prix at the 1937 World Exhibition in Paris. Perhaps unsurprisingly, most of the marches in the film were faked by actors. My gut feeling about Riefenstahl is that she was a hideous propagandist, having already been the brains by the less successful Victory of the Faith. She claimed to have no knowledge of the Nazis' anti-Semitic or genocidal intentions. That is dubious at best, because the film contains the quote, "A people that does not protect its racial purity will perish." Anyone who stands behind that statement is unlikely to leave the people it considers inferior alone. But then again, I can't imagine that anyone living under the rule of Nazi Germany was free to tell Hitler no. I'm unlikely to ever watch Triumph of the Will. I don't care how beautifully it's shot or scored. Anytime I ever see Nazis doing anything on screen, I'm creeped out and terrified. Might opt one day for the great Frank Capra's response, "Why we fight?" To this day, triumph of the will remains unbanned as it should. Because how can we effectively fight evil if it is hidden too deep in the shadows? Here's my analysis now. I can understand a bit of the fascist appeal. Being strong and healthy, self-reliant, and excellent soldiers are arguably admirable qualities. But those qualities are completely perverted when applied to fascism. To brutally crush any and all opposition, to terrorize the weak, or those perceived as different or less than, or children screaming, is not power. It is hatred militarized. The proper realization of the warrior is to protect, not to destroy. The best use of healthy, self-reliant, and strong soldiers is to prevent fascism from coming to power. Stalin killed more people, but if Hitler had won and we lived under a Nazi world order, I'm sure his numbers would have far exceeded Stalin if he had more than 12 years of power. Most of the world today suffers under the boot of despots. The difference is that for the most part, those despots are content to terrorize their own regions. Hitler nearly took over the world, and likely would have succeeded if he hadn't double-crossed Russia. Nazi Germany was fascism realized in its most terrible form. Pure evil written into law and legitimized by brute force. It is the most abject failure of free will that I can imagine. Now, what can we say other than it looks like Holocausts beget Holocausts? I will not paint the Jewish people with one generalized brushstroke. But goddammit, a tyrannical few of those descendants of the survivors of Hitler's Holocaust, the ones who have risen to power and have the bombs under their thumbs, are committing genocide against their neighbors today. I know it's complicated, and there's violence on all sides, but those poor dead bodies and the starving and sick survivors can only tell the horrible truth. Let's not forget that Hitler wasn't some weird anomaly. He never would have come to power without overwhelming popular support. Working people struggle to feed themselves and their families. Cruel rulers hypnotize them into believing it's the immigrants' fault when the immigrants are only trying to feed their families too. The real problem is the concentration of wealth and power in the hands of an ever-decreasing few. A real triumph of the will would be if those people could grow the capacity to share. The Nazis were guilty of innumerable cruelties. One that has always stuck with me is to see how much pressure the human skull could withstand while the owner of that skull was still breathing. I have a vested interest in this because the Nazis threw people out of their wheelchairs and sent people like me to the crematorium too. They didn't stop with Jews. Immigrants are the first step. I promise you they won't stop there today if they hold on to power. Fascism has been defeated militarily, but that is never a guarantee. It can produce deadly armies. A bodhisattva is supposed to come back till every blade of grass achieves enlightenment. We need all the bodhisattvas we can get, because the only way to really defeat fascism is when every human being gains enough wisdom and love to understand that it is never, ever, ever, ever the right idea. One last final fucking monster here. This was really troublesome because after doing all that research, I was just kind of going to write what I thought, you know, like get it out and all that. And for a poem on human spirituality and religion, I decided to describe all 5 major religions in great detail. I couldn't stop myself. So this is a consideration of that. And I will say, in describing them, I'm probably pronouncing several names wrong. I don't speak Hindi or fucking Arabic or Hebrew or am a religious scholar, so apologies. Hopefully, if the religious people don't forgive me, God will. But so, yeah, thanks. A whole history of that, and then, of course, again, my own thoughts and reactions to finish off. So it's consideration of the world beyond kind of thing, and it's called Beyond the Veil. The earliest signs of human spirituality reach all the way back to prehistoric times. They predate writing and civilization, first appearing around 100,000 years ago. They can be found in the abstract symbols of cave art, figurines, and decorative tools that were used in rituals. Even if it is all superstition and wrong, the search for answers to the unknown, speculation about what happens after death, is an inextricable part of what it means to be human. And I wrote one section in the wrong part, so here we go. From the dust of cave art emerged polytheism, the belief in a multitude of deities that would characterize much of the spirituality of the early ancient world. These gods could be aspects of the natural world, the infinite universe beyond it, abstract common concepts of human or spiritual life, gods of war, peace, gods of love, and just about anything else you can imagine. They could even be transcendent, like the god of most of the contemporary world religions. Ancient Mesopotamia, Egypt, Greece, and other cultures all had a hierarchy of gods with specific functions. Of these, Zeus's tribe of Olympian gods come to mind, each immortal, each with a specific function, and most incredibly petty and devastatingly human. Atheism, we had to get into that too, because that's a legitimate philosophy. The philosophy that the material universe contains everything that is, was, and will be goes back to Xenophanes and Democritus, to ancient Greece during the 5th and 6th centuries BC. Carvaka philosophy's rejection of Vedic authority, karma, the afterlife, and liberation dates back to the same time in ancient India. Epicurus and William of Paris were famous atheists during the classical and medieval periods. William faced harsh accusations of blasphemy from an intolerant church. Denis Diderot and the Marquis de Sade challenged religious dogma during the Enlightenment, but it wasn't really until the 20th century that atheism began to be socially acceptable in some parts of the world. I'd reckon it is the belief of most scientists during our own time. I'd even go so far as to say God himself favors atheism over the cruelty of those who abuse their families or kill innocent people in his name. Why would a God who is all-knowing, all-loving, and all-good require your blind obedience when he gave you a free will and the capacity to? Nevertheless, today in 2026, the total number of atheists is estimated between 500 million and 1.1 billion, barely a tenth of the world's population. For better and for worse, most of the world has not lost its faith. Here we go into the big religions now. Judaism is the oldest of the Abrahamic religions, dating back to almost 2000 BC, when God made his covenant with Abraham. There are approximately 14.8 million Jews today. God promised Abraham children, even though he had been childless for almost 100 years. The land of Canaan, which stretched from the river of Egypt to the Euphrates, would become Israel. God promised Abraham a universal blessing. Through Abraham, all nations would be blessed. There would be a coming Messiah, and eventually all nations, not just the descendants of Abraham, would be blessed. And there would be salvation for all of humanity. The Jewish God is one. He has no relationship with other gods. His primary relationship is with the people he created. God is present in all human interaction. There has been tremendous divergence in belief and practice within Judaism through the centuries and today. But these key beliefs usually remain. There is only one God who has no body, and he's eternal. Only he may be worshipped. He communicates with humanity through prophets. Moses was the greatest of the prophets. God is aware of all our deeds and will reward the righteous and punish the wicked. Someday the Messiah will come, and the righteous dead will be resurrected and live again in a perfect world. Belief in the afterlife varies widely in Jewish tradition. It was not until about 100 BC that there was thought to be an afterlife at all. God dealt out rewards and punishment throughout the course of life on earth. One thought is that souls sleep in a Hades-style underworld until the Messiah comes to resurrect them. There is no eternal hell, only a purgatory called Genom, where the soul spends a year reflecting and reviewing its life on earth. Only the truly wicked are not allowed to ascend to Olam Haba, the world to come. Olam Haba is not only for Jews, it is for all souls. It is a merit system determined by actions on earth, not by adhering to specific religion. An overwhelming belief in Judaism is that one should lead a good life because it is the right thing to do, whether there is an afterlife or not. While the Messiah has not yet come in Judaism, in Christianity he came in the form of Jesus of Nazareth. He shall return at a time known only to God, to pass judgment upon the world and raise the righteous into heaven. Christianity arose as a branch of Judaism with Hellenistic influence in the 1st century after the death of Christ in the Roman province of Judea. Plato's good became the Christian God. Christianity split from Judaism in the 2nd century. While the early disciples faced immense persecution, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire around 380. Today, it is the world's largest and most widespread religion, with members numbering approximately 2.3 billion. There have been many branches of Christianity during its 2,000-year history. The most common today are Catholicism, Protestantism, and Eastern Orthodoxy. The most widely accepted article of faith is the Apostles' Creed, which states, belief in God the Father, Jesus the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The death, descent into hell, resurrection of Jesus, and his ascension into heaven, the holiness of the church and the communion of saints, Christ's second coming, day of judgment, and salvation of the faithful are all articles of the creed. Beliefs about the soul after death vary amongst the denominations. One common thread is that the soul is eternal. One view is that judgment upon death is immediate, and the soul is either elevated to heaven or condemned to hell for eternity. Early Christianity held that souls go into that Hades-style slumber and will receive judgment when Jesus returns at the end of time. Protestants don't typically believe in purgatory, while it figures heavily in Catholicism. In Dante's Divine Comedy, purgatory is a temporary, albeit sometimes thousands of years long hell, where the soul can eventually work off its sins. Some modern Christians consider the reincarnation from Hinduism and Buddhism. Judgment is usually based on the soul's thoughts, words, and deeds while on earth, and it receives its place in eternity according to them. Now we get into Islam. Islam, the youngest of the Abrahamic religions, originated in Mecca around the year 610, when the Prophet Muhammad received his first revelation from the angel Gabriel while he was isolated in the cave of Hira. This revelation would produce the beginning of the Quran, which many Muslims believe to be the literal word of God. Muslims believe there is a primordial faith that has been revealed many times through the prophets, Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus. Muhammad is the greatest and last of God's prophets, through whom the religion was completed, and after whom no new prophets or divine law will come. Today, its membership numbers 2 billion worldwide, placing it second only to Christianity. The term Islam means to surrender. Muslims surrender to the will of God. The fundamental practices of Islam can be categorized by its 5 pillars: profession of faith, the 5 daily prayers; the zakat purification tax, which in places like Saudi Arabia is maintained scrupulously on things like food, cattle, and precious metals. In other places, Muslims can fulfill zakat by making charitable donations to the poor. The 4th and 5th pillars are the fasting practice during the month of Ramadan and the annual pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. The Christian notion of Trinity is rejected. God is one whole and not divided into parts. He is a just and merciful God. In Islam, God has forgiven Adam for eating the forbidden fruit. Iblis, Islam's Satan, lost in a competition of knowledge against Adam, and therefore humans are considered to be the noblest of all God's creation. Little is said about the jinn, but they are an invisible race who are more susceptible to corruption than humans. Upon death, the angel of death extracts the soul from the body. The righteous are believed to experience ease during the transition, while sinners face torment. All souls go to Barzakh, the place between worldly life and the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, all souls will be brought before God, and judged according to their deeds during earthly life. Those who lived righteously will be assigned to Jannah, the Islamic paradise, place of eternal bliss. Those who lived wickedly might face Jahannam, a place of eternal physical and spiritual torment. However, Allah's mercy allows forgiveness for those who repent and perform good deeds. All tremendously similar to those Abrahamic religions. Now, talk about Hinduism. While Judaism first emerged in the ancient land of Canaan some 4,000 years ago, the beginnings of Hinduism reach back to the Vedic period hundreds of years earlier. There are about 1.17 billion followers today. Unlike every other major religion, it does not have a recognized founder. The Hinduism of today first emerged around 400 BC as a synthesis of the religious ideas and practices of the Indo-Aryan people of the northwest Indian subcontinent during the Vedic period. A central theme is the concept of Dharma, a cosmic order maintained by rituals of righteous living. Other themes include karma, action, intent, and consequences, samsara, the cycle of death and rebirth, and the four proper goals of life: ethics and duties, prosperity and work, desires and passion, liberation from those desires, and ultimately from the cycle of samsara altogether. God is a single, formless, eternal being called Brahman or Om. God is omnipresent, omniscient, beyond human comprehension. Brahman is the ultimate reality that underlies the universe and all living beings. While God is formless, it manifests in our world through consciousness and matter. Even though it is singular, it manifests in the form of several deities. Two of the most well-known are Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer and creator. In Hinduism, the soul is eternal and indestructible and undergoes repeated incarnations until it is liberated from samsara, the cycle of life and death. Each new life is influenced by karma, the accumulation of all the soul's past actions. Yama, the god of death, guides the soul after life and takes it to temporary heavens and hells, so it can atone for its actions before rebirth. Spiritually advanced beings may follow paths like Devayana, the way of the gods, but may return to mortal life if they still have earthly desires. Now, Buddhism. Like Christianity and Islam came out of Judaism, Buddhism emerged from Hinduism in India between the 6th and 5th centuries BC. There are 320 million followers today. Its founder is the legendary Siddhartha Gautama, also known as the Buddha. There's considerable debate about the Buddha's life, but one story is that he was a wealthy prince who lived in an earthly paradise inside his castle grounds. But the young prince was curious about the world, so he decided to venture outside the castle walls. He was astonished, so deeply moved by the suffering he saw in the world, that he renounced his nobility and dedicated his life to overcoming human suffering. The Buddha taught the path of cultivation that leads to enlightenment and liberation from suffering. When enlightenment is achieved, one enters nirvana, the state of mind where they have extinguished the activity of the grasping mind and all its related suffering, stresses, and unease. When nirvana is achieved, one is usually free from the cycle of death and rebirth, unless they have chosen to be a bodhisattva, an enlightened spiritual master who has vowed to reincarnate until every blade of grass has achieved nirvana as well. The four noble truths of life, the truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and the path to the cessation of suffering, are the cornerstones of Buddhist philosophy. The Buddha also preached and practiced the middle way, a path of perfect balance between overindulgence and extreme asceticism. Unlike most other religions, God doesn't factor in Buddhism. The emphasis instead is on enlightenment, spiritual practice, and guidance from teachers and bodhisattvas. Afterlife is similar to that of Hinduism, where one's rebirth is determined mainly by the good or bad karma of their past actions. The soul can enter 6 realms: the realm of gods, demigods, humans, animals, hungry ghosts, or hell beings. The soul's vision in these realms is usually temporary. And now we get to my thoughts. I would be remiss not to mention Sikhism, Zoroastrianism, and Taoism amongst other notable contemporary religions. But my aching fingers, hoarse throat, and digital age attention span are all screaming at me to tell you to research them on your own, should you have any interest. Many things come to mind when considering the Big Five. It seems a shame that there should be so much murder and disagreements between them, especially since they are so similar. And three trace their origins back to Abraham, while the other two go back to the Vedic period in India. But when families are murdered and land is taken generation after generation, it's not so easy to forgive. There are beautiful sentiments in all the religions, but it seems they are seldom realized in practice. One major flaw of the Abrahamic faith is that God is often thought of as a king in the sky. This engenders blind obedience, where people are taught to disregard their free will and their good sense because God said so. This thinking allows cruel people to come to power and brutalize their subjects. If God is all-knowing, all-loving, and all-good, he is unlike any cruel king and rules only with love, and loves completely even the most deplorable people we can think of. God would only want you to choose him and his ways if and when you ever become ready. I've noticed a stark contrast between Judaism and Buddhism. Judaism, early Judaism at least, had a God with no afterlife, while Buddhism has an afterlife with no God. While both of these outcomes are possible, I can't possibly imagine a loving God would grant us only immortal life and nothing more, or that a world beyond mortal life would exist without a loving source. In practice, Buddhism seems to be the least tyrannical. We don't hear many tales of Buddhists committing mass murder. But in theory, I find it the most limited. It is a wonderful path for a monk. To overcome desire is an excellent achievement in a monastery, but I firmly believe that we take no action, for good or for bad, without desire. I tread a solitary path, partly by choice, but also by necessity. My health does not allow me to be in and of the world how I like. So I need a philosophy that digs all the way in. I read that Chogyam Trungpa. He said there are all kinds of other philosophies and religions, but the only way really is Dharma. So in other words, my way is the right way. Well, Chogyam Trungpa, you can fool yourself, but you can't fool me. One of my best friends told me that Kalu Rinpoche was abused in his temple, much like Catholics have abused so many children. The abuse is not the fault of Catholicism or Buddhism in particular. It happens because we are not able to overcome the worst parts of our nature. Who knows what kind of hell was at work to make someone abuse? I favor a cosmology of reincarnation. How could most of us get it so right or so wrong that we are condemned to hell or elected to paradise after just one try? More importantly, how could we learn everything we need to learn after just one life? And these lessons are the reason for mortal life itself. I'm not sure it's possible to grow in an eternal, unchanging state. I really hope there's a heaven where everyone can exist when they're ready to be there. I believe wholeheartedly in an all-knowing, all-loving, all-good creator, and that there are a whole host of divine beings who serve the loving order. I hope there aren't devils and demons, but I suspect there might be. I hope there's no hell, at least not an eternal one, because even the devil himself should have the chance to be good if he wants to try. A purgatory is okay, but I would prefer difficult karma to be lived out in mortal life, because that means no one gets more than 100 years of suffering, and that when they die, they get all the love they need to heal and be happy. I have seen so many things, so much rain. There are too many coincidences and too many signs that have led me to believe in a greater reality than life on earth. I think that if you're curious and perceptive, the veil is thinner than the gossamer on an angel's wings. But I could be wrong. Let's say I'm mistaken, or that I'm crazy. The atheists are right, and this life is all we'll ever have. Well then, it's even more important to bring the all-knowing, all-loving, all-good to earth. because a 100-year sentence is the absolute most you can get. So many suffer so needlessly. What about worldwide subsistence? What about an end to war and life-threatening pollution? What about everyone being free to be themselves and live without the fear of harm? God or no God, what about heaven here on earth? Woo! Thanks, folks, for sticking with me through the bugs and the rain and the motorcycles and the screaming children.
Yeah.
And,
I forgot about the screen.
yeah, I'm so sad Michelle didn't come. She's like the best laugher. So would have but you guys did great anyway. But she would have put it over the top. Yeah. Oh yeah, and next time is probably a revamp of my theater show at the bus stop in November. So it won't be one of these street plays.
You're not inviting the mosquitoes, right?
Well, they've got to pay cover. If they don't pay cover, they're not allowed in.
Yeah. Put Bobby at the door, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, Bobby. Thank you for watching. When I go see my family at Quimple Road, there, I might take a 3-week stop at St. Vincent's Guest House and have a nice long rest. Good night, folks.